Hi, I'm Amy Cassio.
And I'm Amy Ketchum, and you're listening to the AA Horror Highway.
And today we are taking a deep dive into Jennifer's Body, which was considered a failure at the time of release, but has since gone on to become a post-Me Too feminist and queer cult classic. And if you haven't seen this movie, here is the plot summary. In Devil's Kettle, Minnesota, Needy is a shy teenage student that idolizes her cheerleader friend, Jennifer. They attend a performance of the rock band Low Shoulder at a bar, and the band leader overhears that Jennifer is a virgin. Well, he thinks that she's a virgin.
What? I'm not even a backdoor virgin.
And when the place is set on fire, Jennifer is abducted by the band and taken away in their van. She later appears at Needy's home, covered in blood, acting weird, and throwing up a dark liquid. Over the next few days, many male classmates are found murdered, with parts of their bodies eaten. Needy discovers that Jennifer was sacrificed by the band members in a black magic ritual, but something went wrong because Jennifer was not a virgin, and she transformed into a flesh-eating succubus. So the next day, Needy researches how to kill a succubus, which is by stabbing them in the heart. Needy then tries to keep her boyfriend Chip away from Jennifer, but fails. This all culminates with Jennifer going after Chip and biting him as Needy rushes to the rescue. They end up in a fight where Chip impales Jennifer through the stomach with a pole, but she pulls it out and escapes as Chip dies in Needy's arms. Later, Needy breaks into Jennifer's room where they get into a fight, and Needy manages to stab Jennifer in the heart, which kills her and destroys the demon. Jennifer's mother walks in on this, seeing that her daughter has been killed, and Needy is sent to the asylum. We then learn that Needy has gained some of the demon's powers, and she's able to escape the asylum, where she then tracks down the band Low Shoulder and murders them. So this movie came out in 2009, and it was written by Diablo Cody, who also created Juno, which was a huge success, starring Ellen Page. She also created the show United States of Terra, which stars Toni Collette, which everybody knows from Hereditary, Keir Gilchrist, which is the guy we talked about from It Follows, and it also has a 19-year-old Brie Larson, aka Captain Marvel, which made over $1 billion at the box office, just dropping that out there. This was directed by Karin Kasuma, who did the movie The Invitation, the horror movie The Invitation, which a lot of people seem to like. She also did the movie Aeon Flux, which did not do so well. She did an episode of The L Word and a few episodes of Halt and Catch Fire, which is one of my favorite shows ever. 80s computers. This movie stars Megan Fox, which you may know from Transformers, and Amanda Seyfried, which everybody knows from Mean Girls. And she was also recently in the Twin Peaks revival, which is another one of my favorites. And both actresses have said that this is their favorite movie that they have done. So I think part of the reason that this movie failed at the time, again, it came out in 2009, so it's been 10 years, is because of the marketing. They were determined to market this movie as one way, and Diablo Cody had, no say in this. She was like, this is not what my movie is, and you're marketing in this way that just is not accurate. They were marketing it as a sexy horror movie for teenage boys, which was not the demographic. She wanted more girls to see this. They heavily promoted the lesbian kiss, and the trailer was all about Megan Fox being very sexy. But then it turns out these teenage boys go to this movie, and they're just watching this woman eating boys, which is not what they expected. Plus, at the time, Megan Fox did an interview where she did what many actresses and actors are doing now, which was calling out directors for bad behavior. So on the set of Transformers, she was calling out Michael Bay because of his on-set behavior, saying that he was like a dictator and he was a nightmare to work with. And then he later released a misogynist open letter calling her all of these names, and it was just really horrible in poor taste. We're not going to go over it, but his letter to her was just trash and based on nothing but his own opinion of her. Whereas calling somebody a dictator and, calling out their behavior for how they are treating the actors in the movie, that's an actual real thing. Well, once Megan Fox called out Michael Bay for this behavior, she was basically eaten alive by everybody. So if something like this were to happen now, the reaction that Megan Fox got back then, like they basically tore her apart is what happened. But she would not have been torn apart now. After Diablo Cody made Juno, it was such a success that they said to her, you can make anything that you want. Whatever movie you want, we will back it. We will give you the freedom to do what you want. And so the first thing she wanted to do was make a horror movie because she loves horror movies. And so this is what she went in and she did. And so it's pretty cool because, female writer, she has a female director, most of the leads are female. So it's just like a cool situation for her where she said she basically got to do pretty much whatever she wanted. Everybody was like very supportive and she got to do the movie that she wanted to do. But because this movie failed at the box office, she has kind of been blacklisted, it feels like, from being able to make another horror movie. I've listened to many interviews with her, and all she really, 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 really wants to do is to make another horror movie, but they will not, every time she brings it up, they're just like, no, Jennifer's Body, no, you're done. And so as far as the marketing, I also wanted to say that before anybody even signed on to do this movie, it was in the contract that the kiss scene would be in the trailer. So like the marketing was just, they were all about playing up the lesbian stuff in this movie.
Sex sells.
So, Amy Ketchum, do you remember how you discovered this movie and like what you thought at the time that you saw it?
Well, I've been trying to pinpoint that, but I can't. I know I definitely saw a trailer before another movie. At the time, I was really big into keeping up with all the stuff in pop culture that has to do with women because of my radio show at the time. So I kind of feel like that might be part of it as well. Maybe I read about it in a blog and got excited over the female leads and it being horror.
And what was your radio show at the time?
My radio show was called The Every Woman Show, which was news and views and representation of women, mostly music. But I remember talking about movies quite a bit, so I kind of feel like it all kind of played together for me, that I was just out there looking for stuff that had to do with female writers, directors, actors. And I was so excited about this movie before it came out. I was just, oh my God, I had to go see it. And that's still how I feel. It's one of my favorites.
I discovered it because of you, because I started to really get into horror like a year and a half ago. And you just kept saying, you gotta watch Jennifer's Body, watch it, watch it, watch it. And so I did. I went in completely blind. I didn't know anything about who Megan Fox was. I knew nothing about the marketing. I had no idea that there was going to be any queer elements to this movie. And I went in and like one of the first things that I picked up on was I immediately heard like Needy having a crush on her friend. And I was like, whoa, what is this movie? Because I'm really into like finding the gay content because there's so little. So like when you finally find something that has like queer content, I'm just so happy by that.
Right, especially when it's done well.
Yeah, when it's done well. So this was a special movie because it was written by, directed by, and starring women. So, and it's a horror movie, and like I feel like that's kind of a unique situation, especially for horror.
And our protagonist and antagonist are both women, which I think is unique as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing to talk about, is that you usually don't get, you don't get that. You don't see that in horror movies that much.
So I have a few thoughts I'd like to share about where I feel that Diablo Cody was probably coming from, not knowing anything about her. I'm going to make an assumption. When she sat down and she wanted to create a horror movie. Because when this movie opens up, one of the first things we hear Needy say is, hell is a teenage girl.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you think about it, I mean, if we just look at bullying to begin with, to be a teenager can be absolutely horrible and devastating for people. And then, the whole dehumanizing part of becoming sexy and her whole life changing, which we can get into that in a bit, because that's what I feel this character is all about, is how her life has changed. but also the fact that she is a sexy villain. I kind of feel like Diablo Cody was, thinking, when have we had a female villain in horror? The only time we ever see this that I can think of is when they are vampires, and vampires are sexy. So I think that kind of played into this too. Like, she wanted to have a super sexy villain and take it to this whole new level, because who is hotter than Megan Fox? Oh my God, I can't handle it. Really.
Yeah, she's like on another planet with how hot she is.
It's true.
But she's also really fun in this movie. Like, it's not just about her being a hot person. Like, she's really good in this movie. Like, she's fantastic in this movie. So as far as the impact of this movie, it's really interesting because, like we were saying, it was considered to be a failure in 2009. And then somewhere around 2017, 2018, after the Me Too movement, people were looking at this movie again, and they were seeing it with new eyes. They were seeing it post Me Too. And so all of these articles started to creep up. So this was the time that I discovered the movie. So right when I was discovering it and watching it, there were so many articles that were like, let me read you some of the headlines. Like, I was looking at articles like, you probably owe Jennifer's body an apology. How Jennifer's body went from a flop in 2009 to a feminist cult classic today. And Jennifer's body would kill if it came out today. So there's endless articles that are talking about how good this movie is and why it failed and how it deserves a second chance. So we've been going through... It's just a
matter of timing.
Yeah, they were saying it was the wrong time. And, the marketing didn't help. And, it's been 10 years, so there's a lot of people who are adults now who weren't adults then, who might be, turning 18. They might be going to college looking for horror movies and, discovering this. So there's a whole, generation of people, I think, that are now adults that didn't exist then, but they exist now. So that could be another factor. Right,
and when you have a cover of Megan Fox, who is so hot... But, just the cover of the Blu-ray, anyone who's 18, 20, 21, whatever, that whole age, they're going to be like, oh my God, she's so hot. I mean, even if they don't know what it is, how can you not pick up the Blu-ray? How can you not do it? You have to pick it up. If you're out shopping, you have to pick it up. I personally feel like I know there's a resurgence, but I feel like it's going to even get bigger, maybe
Possibly.
In a couple more years. I just feel like this movie is going to, really reach, a cult status.
Yeah, it is just at the beginning of whatever's happening with it. It would be great if they would show it in a theater somewhere and I could actually go to the theater and see it. That would be fantastic. And maybe they will, because I live in Portland where we have queer horror every other month, and I get to see queer horror movies. Thank you, Portland.
Well, and it's also the 10-year anniversary, so it's a perfect candidate.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so when this movie first starts, well, depending on which version you watch, one of them starts with Needy in the, I guess we'll just call it an insane asylum. I don't know exactly where she's at. She's in some type of mental facility.
Yeah.
And then the alt version skips that whole scene. I don't think it really matters, but they both then move on to a scene that I found very significant. It's an outdoor scene, and the cinematography in this movie is not really there, right? We have a couple of scenes that are cool, but for the most part, it's just very standard filming. But at the beginning, it's a great cinematography moment where you're outside, it's dark, and it's like a stalkerish kind of feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Where somebody's coming up to a window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I feel like I caught something very important in that scene, which is when the camera goes around to the back of her house, there's a horse. She has a pet horse. And not only is it a horse, but it's right next to the window. Nobody has a horse next to their window. If you have some type of farm with a horse, it's not next to your window. So they really wanted us to see this horse. And to me, that represented that she's the girl who has it all. And, I personally never wanted a horse growing up, but that just seems to be this whole fantasy that a lot of women have as young girls, is having a horse or a pony. So I found that really significant because, this whole movie is about her body. It is about her body changing and her body being used against her etc., and so on. So it's almost like she had it all until she changed, until she went through puberty, until she became a piece of meat, until she became this sexualized object.
Yeah.
And then that's also when we hear Needy say, hell is a teenage girl. So as far as the opening scene, she's laying in bed. She's in her room, her pink, very feminine, like I say, the girl who has everything type of room, just chilling and being gorgeous on her bed. And, you got Needy peeking in the window, who's in a completely different place. I mean, this is actually, the beginning of the movie. The opening scene is one of our final scenes,
Yeah.
So yes, Needy is definitely in a very different state of mind looking through the window. Okay, so I kind of feel like the writer might have taken the angle of, we all know what bullying does to a person. So now let's look at what dehumanizing does to a person. As girls' bodies change and they go through puberty, some of them, like a Megan Fox, blossoms, and instead of enjoying her new body, getting to know herself, and with these big changes, what happens a lot in school is that she's then treated as a sex object. It's like,
yeah,
like she has become a different person. And I feel that is the basis of this character. That's why she has a lot of sarcasm and she's got all these witty one-liners. She has this sadness about her. It's kind of an attitude, but it's truly some type of a deeper sadness of, they're going to treat me like meat. And once she turns into a succubus, she's going to treat them like meat. So that was the power in her, I felt, once she turned into the succubus, is that she says, they're just boys. We have all the power.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the basis of all of it, is that she feels powerless. She says they're boys and we have all the power, but she doesn't really believe it. That she really feels powerless in this whole newfound body. Because this is all about Jennifer's body, from it changing to her being sacrificed because she's a virgin, to her body not able to complete the sacrifice because she's not truly a virgin. And so this demon takes over, all the way to her body having to be killed to kill the succubus.
Yeah, and I think this is where it kind of relates to the Me Too stuff, is because the whole, you have this group of guys who's trying to do this thing to this woman's body. So basically, they want to sacrifice her for Satan in order to get famous as a band. And so basically she is using her abused body against the attackers, because she comes back and she starts eating just boys. So I kind of always saw it as like her eating the patriarchy in a way.
Right, yeah.
If you just step back from the fact that these are nice guys and you just look at the fact that she's only eating boys, it's a certain message, because, she was attacked by guys and now she's using her body to get back at these guys in general.
Okay, I can take that a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So to add on to that, she's been attacked, let's say for 2 or 3 years of her life already. After her body changed, she is being attacked on a daily basis at a much lower level. But, it has just ruined her self-esteem. It's made her feel, less than human, and, before, when they're at the concert, before the fire, Jennifer's different. Jennifer has not changed at this point. And what we learn about Jennifer is that basically she will have sex with anyone who she feels is pretty enough, maybe. I don't know how she's selecting them. But, it's like she has lost respect for herself, and she has fallen prey into becoming this object. She's been objectified to the point that she has become the object. So after they take her to sacrifice her, it's this moment of, don't you know who I am? It's this very alone moment when she's out and she's laying on the rock and they're getting ready to kill her, where it's like, he says, what's your name again? He calls her a different name, I forget, but he's like, what's your name?
We come here tonight to sacrifice the body of was your name again, Tiffany?
My name is Jennifer.
Super.
You know, it's like in her world, she is a big deal. You know, everybody loves her, wants to be with her, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know, she is hot stuff. You know, she can have whatever guy she wants. She's basically saying that before the concert. And now she's out in the woods, and they're like, who are you? Because they don't care. You know, they just want a virgin. And it's just this moment of everything just totally flips from her being the center to it being an unknown victim in the woods. So when she comes back, it's almost like she has snapped in a way. You know, it's like, of course, she's a succubus. She's going to have to, you know, kill people. And she's going to have their fear in their blood as she absorbs her soul. But it's like she just kind of snaps. Like, okay, you're going to treat me like meat. I'm going to eat you.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, she picked, you know, some jocks and whatever. I'm kind of jumping ahead here. When she's in her bedroom, behind her is a poster of Fall Out Boy. So Colin Gray, who is our stereotypical emo boy.
Yeah, our emo goth.
I mean, we don't know the backstory of any of these characters, which kind of bothers me actually in this movie. But I feel like there was a connection maybe before she became hot Megan or hot Jennifer. Like maybe they kind of liked each other because she likes Fall Out Boy and he kind of fits into that somehow, physically, you know, the appearance and all that. So it's like, yeah, she's eating the jocks first. She doesn't eat Needy. She does admit to eating the exchange student. So I'm not really for sure where he fits in, unless she just felt he was insignificant on the grand scheme of things, so she could eat him. But then she goes and eats poor Colin, which to me was like just showing that she was kind of progressing as this succubus who is starting to not have boundaries. You know, she's not just eating the jocks that have been creeps to her.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the change in the character that I saw as she started to progress and become more dangerous.
So, as far as subverting tropes, you know, we've got like a female villain, but another one is, to go off of the whole virgin thing, is that she's not actually a virgin. Normally, if you are a virgin, you're safe, but in this case, the guys wanted a virgin. So being a virgin does not keep you safe in this movie.
Right. If she were a virgin, she would have been totally sacrificed.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have this movie.
So one question I had was, where is Devil's Kettle? Well, it's in Minnesota, and is it real? Yes, it is real. I was reading that scientists have gone, and they'll drop tennis balls into it, and they never find them again. They said that this was because the undertow is so strong that it actually will make them deteriorate. But then the question is, okay, what happens when they put dye in it? You know, they'll add a color and it never comes out anywhere. So the theory is that the water actually does go through and come back out. It's just like a recycling, recirc type of flow. And, you know, that eventually you would see stuff come out of it, that people are dropping down it. But it seems to be this very mysterious place for a lot of people. So I found that interesting that she would pick that to put in this movie. She must have already had an interest in it. But it's a very unique place because it actually, the flow goes clockwise and the Devil's Kettle goes counterclockwise. Like it's not flowing the way it should flow, which makes it mysterious to people.
Okay. So let's talk about the queer aspect of this movie, because to me, it was a huge big deal. Like, some people watch this movie and I think they completely miss it because I don't know why. Maybe they're not queer, they're not looking for it, they don't see it. But for me, I'm like a hawk when I'm watching things, and like if I get queer content, like just the slightest hint, I'm just like, all right, I need to, you know, I'm in this. We're gonna see where this goes. Because again, we have like so little content that it's like, where's this gonna go? So I was actually like really happy with like what happened here. But Diablo Cody said that this is kind of like, this movie is really about their relationship. And they have a complicated relationship, as many people probably do as teenagers. You know, you're young, you've got hormones going, you're trying to discover yourself. And she said that there's very much a romance going on between the two of them. So if you don't think that there is, or you want to like dispute that, you can't, because she flat out says there's definitely a romance between them, and it's a complicated relationship. They're trying to figure things out. I highly enjoyed all of it. You know, it's like, I think the first thing that Needy says is she calls Jennifer babe in the beginning, like she's referring to her, and she's like, how can a babe like Jennifer, blah, blah, blah. And then the one classmate calls her lesbi gay.
We're totally lesbi gay.
Which I've never heard the word lesbi gay, so I was like, what does that mean? And all that I can come up with is that it's a combination of lesbian, bisexual, and gay. And maybe you're just trying to figure it out. I don't really know.
But you're so lesbi gay for Jennifer.
Yeah.
That's what she says.
Yeah. And then, you know, there's just these constant references all throughout the movie, like Jennifer is telling Needy to wear something cute when they're about to go out at the beginning of the movie. And in that same scene, you know, Chip is also there, and he's jokingly like, oh, stop kidnapping my girlfriend. You know, when the band is playing, they are literally holding hands. And Needy is so happy. Like, she has this huge smile on her face as she looks over at Jennifer while they're watching the band perform. And it is so gay. I mean, there's just so much gay in this movie.
So when Jennifer first changes and she comes back to Needy's house, and she's in the kitchen and she's ripping the food out, and she's eating the Boston Market chicken, she throws Needy into the wall, and there's that moment of fear where she might eat her, but she doesn't. Because at that moment, I think Jennifer realizes, once she's eating the chicken, that she can't eat the chicken anymore. She needs fresh meat. You know, she needs blood.
People
meat. And, you know, what is unsaid in this scene is that Needy is her love. This is the one she loves. She's not going to eat her.
Yeah, they have a connection.
There is a line. Yeah, she's drawn the line. She's not going to cross it. She's not going to eat Needy. Also, in the opening scene, we saw when she's in the hospital and they pull her file that her name is actually Anita. So, to me, I've decided that Jennifer gave her the name Needy because she wants her to be needy. You know, she can have any guy in the world, you know, look at her, but she wants Needy to need her. So by calling her Needy, she's kind of playing, and, you know, it might be kind of a put down in Needy's eyes, because she doesn't see what we're seeing, but she wants her to need her. She wants to remind her every day, you need me. I need you, you need me. So I think it's like an endearing term, even though it sounds negative. To me, it sounds negative to call somebody needy, but I think it was an endearing term.
I could see that. Yeah.
And we had some psychic moments. So, for example, when they're getting ready to go out to go see Low Shoulder, and Needy and Chip are in her bedroom, she says, Jennifer's here.
Oh,
and he's like, no, she's not. And then you hear something, and he's like, how do you do that? That is creepy.
Yeah. That's the thing that we should get into a little bit later, is their psychic connection.
Yeah.
But if we continue on with the queer stuff, for me, I love the sleepover scene. I did not expect that at all. Remember, I went in blind. I did not know they were going to actually kiss. That was just fantastic, because, again, I don't get to see that stuff very often. So it was very intense. It went on for a very long time. And, you know, it's like the tentative first kiss, and then Jennifer pulls away, and Needy goes right back for more. And it's just going and going and going. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, I think what makes it such a hot, amazing, like one of the best kisses you've ever seen in a movie kind of kiss is that they knew they were going to use it for that trailer. So I think they really spent time on that kiss to like just suck you in. I mean, you know, when Jennifer is playing with her tongue, you know, it's such a short scene. You know, it's just a matter of seconds where they're just zooming in on their mouth, but it is like the most amazing kiss ever.
Yeah,
it's up there. It's like
really
top
intense.
10 movie kisses.
I mean, and let's not forget that, you know, once she pulls away, at one point Jennifer is like, you know, she refers back to their childhood where she's like, what, you don't want to keep playing boyfriend girlfriend like we used to?
Leave. Come on, Needy, let me stay the night. We can play boyfriend-girlfriend like we used to.
There's something going on with them. Like, when they were younger, they did something where they were, they were messing around in that sort of a way. And that's just like a way that they were. There's no denying it. This movie is gay.
Well, and I think also, from Needy's perspective, is that she wants Jennifer to really be deeply, madly in love with her. And because Jennifer has gone through these changes before being the succubus, she has just gone through these changes where she is like a different person that, even though Needy wants this like really bad, and yeah, she went back in for that second part of the kiss, it's like she just cannot go there with Jennifer because she doesn't want to be hurt.
Well, I mean, she pulls away screaming like, what's happening and like, what's going on with you? Because something has changed in Jennifer and she can't figure out what it is.
Right. And that could be part of the psychic thing too, that she's picking up on things that we aren't even noticing in the movie.
So then that would bring us to the psychic link, because they clearly have some kind of a link. Like you mentioned before, that she knew Jennifer showed up before Chip did, before anybody did. When Needy and Chip are having awkward sex, she is seeing what's happening with Jennifer when Jennifer is killing Colin. And how is that happening? What is the connection? Like, the only thing that I could find out was that maybe there's a psychic link because she's a succubus, and like maybe the rule of a succubus could be that they have a psychic link to the person that they care about the most. But you mentioned the necklace, and that maybe that's the connection. Right.
So one thing that we don't really need to dive into, but there is a book and there's a graphic novel that go with this. And the cover of the book is the necklace. It's, Jennifer's chest and the necklace. And we see the necklace a few times in the movie. Needy pulls it out when she's talking to Chip when he says, that was weird. Like, how did you have that psychic moment? She pulls out the necklace and she says something like, we're BFFs. So they show the necklace a few times in the movie. Mm-hmm. And it's that scene, that final scene where she is going to kill Jennifer. She has to kill Jennifer, she thinks. But does she really have to kill Jennifer? I mean, come on. We know Jennifer's not going to kill her, so why does she have to kill Jennifer? But okay, she thinks she needs to kill her. I mean, Chip's already dead.
To save the boys.
Why?
To save half of humanity.
The two of them should just ride off into the sunset. Come on. So she's on top of Jennifer, and she's going to kill her.
I would love to see that movie, but go on.
So they're hovering above the bed. They're floating because of the succubus power. They're actually like 4 feet off the bed, and she pulls Jennifer's necklace off, like, we're not BFFs anymore. And she goes to pull her necklace off, and that's when Jennifer loses her power in some sense, in some way, and she falls to the bed, which is how Needy then is able to stab her, because of course she's more powerful than Needy. Yeah. So something actually changes when she pulls off that necklace. So either a power is lost, or maybe she has been dead this whole time. And somehow that necklace was a link, as you're saying, the succubus energy thing. Maybe there's a link through the necklace, that she is just not really even alive.
Yeah.
And, so maybe she was, when she falls to the bed, that she is actually dying before she's stabbed. But we don't really know that. We just know there's a change and there's a link of power in that necklace.
Yeah, I would really like, I've listened to so many interviews with Diablo Cody lately, and that is not an answer that I have heard yet. If anybody has any theories on that, let us know, because that seems like a huge thing in the movie that is unexplained. So do you have a favorite kill in this movie? There are 4 kills, 4 body counts.
My favorite kill is Jennifer. It's sad.
Oh, yeah,
that's
I
my
didn't
favorite
even
kill.
That. She would be number 5. Oh my god, yeah, so I did not even think about that. So why is it your favorite?
Well, I like the necklace scene. I mean, it's this very, it's a profound moment, but it's very minor. Like, I don't know if everyone's even going to catch that, but there's this huge power between them through this necklace. And then the second part of why it's my favorite, which is just so disturbing, is when the mother opens the door after it is over. it's just this moment of reality. You know, you're just thrown back into reality of what actually just happened to you. You're watching this wild movie with some type of paranormal thing happening, and they're floating in the air, and then the mother opens the door, and it's like, oh my God, this is her baby girl. You know, this is her perfect child in her pink room with her horse outside the window.
Yeah.
You know, so it was traumatic in a way. That's why I liked it. There was like that realness to it that was just disturbing.
Yeah, I mean...
It was well done.
I'm going to have to change that to being my favorite scene, but until you said that, or my favorite kill was the Colin scene, because, you know, she makes up the room with all the candles, and she's got the R&B, the Akon going, and it's totally ridiculous. Like, he looks totally ridiculous, but totally accurate. I mean, I knew people during that era, and they definitely looked just like that. And I like the shadow shot as she's killing him. Like, you don't see it, you just see the shadow of it and the teeth. And I really like that one the best.
Nice hardware, Ace.
Yeah, there's so many...
One of the best lines.
Yeah, there's so many great one-liners in this movie also, which we haven't mentioned yet.
And one thing I like about that kill is her eyes. Her eyes, like, flash, and they're, like, reptilian looking, and he's like, whoa.
So as far as awards, I have 2 awards for this movie, which would be that I think it has the best vomit scene. That scene was fantastic. And also sexiest villain. What about you?
All right, I've got 2 awards as well. Best one-liners and sexiest villain. So I guess that's a total of 3 since we both chose sexiest villain.
Yeah. So then let's get into the music a little bit, because music is a huge aspect of this movie. So I personally do not like emo music. And I feel like it's kind of weird. You know, I mean, I was living through that era, but I was into post-Riot Girl, but there was kind of like a mix of like people were into post-Riot Girl and emo/screamo, whatever. The looks kind of were similar at the same time with the hair, the outfits, all of that. But I feel like that was more of like the mid 2000s, and this movie came out 2009. So it you know, and I even like was looking it up because I was like, I'm pretty sure that emo was dead or dying at that time, and I'm pretty you know, what I could find that's accurate. So it's interesting to me that they would put that kind of music into the movie when it was pretty much over or, you know, dying. It was on its way out at that time. But I'm not a fan of the emo stuff. What about you?
Maybe this is a movie about killing emo.
Maybe. Jennifer killed emo.
Yeah, because she does. I mean, she kills Colin, and
Ooh.
I guess it's Needy who goes back and kills the band.
Yeah, I like that. Jennifer is killing the patriarchy and killing the emo. Thank you for your service.
And she has the Fall Out Boy poster, right? And then she goes and kills Colin. So, you know, maybe it's just a part of, she's killing her past. She's killing the old Jennifer who would listen to emo.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to talk about good music then, they used, you know, the title of the movie, Jennifer's Body, is taken from the whole song called Jennifer's Body, which of course came out in the 90s. It's a classic album. It's I think it still holds up. I think it just celebrated its 25th anniversary this year. And I was obsessed with that album when I was a teenager in the 90s. What about you?
Well, let me tell you, I have a great memory of this album. I was at Xavier University, and you know what? I think this is about the same year. I think this was about 2009. I was at Xavier University getting a certification for work, and I had that album in my car for that trip specifically. And it was this awakening. I swear, it was the most amazing feeling, because I've heard the album many times, but it was not until that moment in time that I listened to that whole album as loud as I could get it with my windows down on some hot summer day, and I realized that this is like one of the best albums ever created. Like, I seriously believe that. Every single song, you know, from start to finish. And Jennifer's Body is a great song. I wish they would have used it in the movie. Yeah,
I don't understand why they didn't use it, but they did use a different whole song. Did they use Violet at the end, or did they use a different one?
I think it's Violet. Yeah, I think it was
That's
Violet.
Another classic whole song. But as far as the song itself, it's suggested that the song Jennifer's Body is about violence against women's bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Diablo Cody said that she was drawn to it because of how dark it was, and she felt like that song felt like a horror movie for her because of the lyrics and the message. So I would encourage you to go listen to it if you haven't heard it, because they don't play it in the movie.
Yeah, and I thought maybe it was a licensing issue to play it in the movie, but then they played Violet. So it seems like they could have played it.
Yeah. So as far as fun facts and trivia, I have a very strange one for you, which is Megan Fox was not the first choice for this role. It was supposed to be Blake Lively from, if you've seen Gossip Girl. She was in the movie, the horror thriller, The Shallows, where she was stuck on a rock trying to escape the shark, which I love. I love that movie so much. But that would have been such a strange... I feel it would have been like such a different movie. But I did just see Blake Lively in the movie A Simple Favor, where there were some like lesbian undertones. Well, I mean, there was some flat out lesbian stuff going on. And she was wearing some suits, and she was looking really good in those suits. So I probably would have liked it. It just would have been like a different movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, she was sharp looking in A Simple Favor.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one for a while.
Super sharp. That's a good word. Also, there's a comic book about this movie, which I didn't know. I would love to read it. Apparently, it came out at the same time.
Yeah, I went out to Amazon and I read all the reviews of... There's two books. There's the comic book and then there's a regular young adult book. And I read that the young adult book actually has more of backstory and like to help you put the pieces together. And that the people who were getting it said they could read it in one sitting. It was like 194 pages or something.
Wow.
You could read it in just a couple hours.
That's
so
a lot
worth
for a
picking
comic
up.
book. Yeah, I definitely want to get that. And my last fact that I have here was that to prepare for this role, Megan Fox lost a bunch of weight, bringing her down to 97 pounds. And she stayed out of the sun. And the funny thing about this movie is kind of like the sicklier that she looks, in quotation marks, air quotes, whatever, the hotter she gets. I don't know why that is, but it's like...
Right.
It's so strange. Like, how is that happening? You get pale and sickly, but you look very attractive doing it.
Oh, come on. It's Megan Fox. She could do anything. And we're going to be like, with the drool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not alone. If you listen to the commentary for the movie, you know, the director, the creator, they're both like the hotter, you know, the worse off she gets when she's not feeding, you know, the hotter she starts to look.
And oh my God, in the kiss scene, was she not hot or what?
Yeah.
I think that was like her hottest scene because she has like these little shorts. Like they try to like make her extra hot in that scene.
Oh yeah. And sidebar, she's wearing an Evil Dead t-shirt. Shout out. Mm-hmm. And there's a poster of Evil Dead on the wall, I believe.
And I mean, that was when she was her most powerful, I believe, in the whole movie. You know, she had presented her most powerful, fed self to Needy at that moment. Yeah,
she was in control of like her situation. She was there for Needy. She was ready to have an intimate moment with her, I suppose you could say. But it didn't work out quite the way she wanted. You know, she wasn't there to kill Needy. She was there to have an intimate night with her, which we unfortunately did not get to see. But okay.
Clearly we wanted to see this.
Diablo Cody, help us.
What happened? Yeah, where's our scene?
Where's the outtake?
You stole that from us.
To wrap it up, we could get into some of our favorite scenes. I know I have a few that are my favorite. When I started to watch the movie, there's the scene at the beginning where they're getting ready to go out to the show to see Low Shoulder, and Needy and Needy and Jennifer start pushing each other, and then Jennifer pushes her like extra hard into the wall, and that's the moment when I was like, okay, this is going to be a great movie because that's exactly my kind of humor. And then Needy just kind of like laughs, and she's like, ha, okay.
Well, that's Jennifer being in control.
Yeah.
You know. It's not necessarily negative even. It's just at that moment of control, like, yeah, we can play, but I'm in control.
Diablo Cody said that that's something they came up with by themselves. That was not a part of the script. They just were screwing around and they came up with that. And they loved it and left it in. Another thing that I always forget about is like every time the scene happens at the bar where Chris Pratt shows up, I'm like, yeah, he was in this, which is so crazy to think of because, you know, I watched him in every season of Parks and Recreation, which is one of my favorite shows. And then he went on to become like a huge movie star. So it's always a little bit weird when I'm like, oh yeah, there's Chris Pratt for like 2 minutes in this movie. Another one of my favorite things about this movie is the teacher with the hook for an arm. It's just so random.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention how when Jennifer's killing the jock in the forest, that all the animals are watching her. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What is that about?
Well, in Snow White, the same thing happens, right? So Snow White, when she's out in the woods, all the animals flock to her. She has a connection to the animals. So I think in this, I think it has to do with that she is transforming more into a wild animal. I mean, she's not really. She's a demon. She's a succubus. But that's how I took it, was that she's got something about her that's animalistic. Mm-hmm. And as she transforms into this creature that's going to eat him, the animals feel safe enough to come out.
I like that.
So I was just going to throw this out there. Our two lead gals have Lindsay Lohan in common, Lindsay Lohan movies. So the first time I saw Megan Fox was in Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I've heard of it.
Have you seen that?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
So in that movie, Megan Fox is a mean girl. You know, that she is the main mean girl in that movie. A very similar role to Jennifer, but without all the totally awesome, witty one-liners. And Amanda, who plays Needy, was in Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan. So I feel like that was the first time I saw her as well. Like I saw them both in these kind of teen comedy movies before this movie.
So is it any good?
The Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen?
Should I watch it?
Yeah. You should watch that. You should watch every Lindsay Lohan movie.
Please don't make me.
And I know you've seen Mean Girls probably 1,000 times.
No, I've actually only seen Mean Girls once, and it was only like 3 years ago. I'm super late to it. Yeah, it was a really weird experience because I've heard people saying Mean Girls lines like ever since it came out. So it was like I knew all of the punchlines before I ever saw the movie, and then I saw the movie, and it was really surreal seeing all of the lines actually being played out in front of me. It was weird, but I would like to see it again. I've only seen it once.
Yeah, Mean Girls is one of the best teen comedies, I think, and it's written by Tina Fey, and they now have a Broadway version, which I would totally go see. But yeah, it's great. It's got a lot of great actresses. It's like some of their first acting roles. So it's great. I love it. I can't get enough of Mean Girls.
Yeah. Another highlight of this movie for me is getting to see Amy Sedaris as Needy's mom. That's so weird and random.
That was totally random.
But fantastic. If you don't know her, she was in Strangers with Candy. I believe that was in the 90s, which is a great comedy show. And then more recently, she's got a new show called At Home with Amy Sedaris, which is just like her book that she released a while back about being like a homemaker and making dinner and that kind of thing. Oh, I do have an award, though. Another award, which is an award for the worst line ever in a movie, which is when Jennifer is about to kill Colin, and she says to him, "You give me such a wetty," and I'm just like, no. Award for the worst line in a movie ever. Sorry. But I can't do it. I can't deal with it.
So how would you rate this movie?
Okay, so my rating scale, again, is 1 to 3. I don't like too many numbers because it just gets complicated. So for me, a 1 means I don't like the movie. I never want to see it again. A 2 means I liked it. I made it through, but I don't necessarily need to watch it again. But it might be worth a watch. And 3 is that I love it and I will rewatch it. And I would give this movie a 3 because I love it and I will rewatch it endlessly for the rest of my life. What about you?
I would also give it a 3, and I'd like to nominate it for a 4.
All right, I'll allow that. We can do this. We'll push it up to a 4
For this one movie?
Yeah.
Good. I think this one gets that special 4.
Yeah, especially since it's made a comeback, and we may continue to see it more and more.
And you know what? It's probably going to be in a feminist class, if it isn't already, because you have a female writer, a female director, female antagonist, and protagonist.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
4 powerful women.
I mean, there's a class on Buffy, so...
Yeah.
And that was...
Jennifer's Body.
By Amy Cassio and Amy Ketchum.
And we'll be here next week with a whole new discussion about a whole new horror movie.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of movies up our sleeve that we really want to talk about.
And you want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Tune in next week as the horror continues with Carnival Souls from 1962, starring Candice Hilligoss. You've been listening to the AA Horror Highway. Connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or Patreon at AA Horror Highway. Find us on Twitter at Horror Highway, that's Horror HWY. Also, be sure to take a moment and rate and review us on iTunes. You can find all of our social media links and more by going to horrorhighway.com. That's horrorhwy.com.